as a sports person.
There was 4 million people in Ireland who knew much more about managing football teams than I did. When it comes to music, I can spoof with the best.
Your sporting career is the best time you'll have, and you know you have to hang on to it for as long as you like, because everything else is pretty crappy.
And this is not lies. Stephen Rothschild has never spoken to Jim McGuinness in his life.
All right, you're very welcome along to our Saturday panel. It's a huge weekend in Gaelic football. We have the All-Ireland football semi-finals, Dublin against Galway this evening, and then that all-Ulster clash of Monaghan and Tyrone tomorrow. I'm joined by 3 legends of the GAA in studio. Dick Clerkin of Monaghan, Liam Kearns, the Tipperary football manager, and Pádraic Joyce of Galway. Thanks for coming in, lads. Pádraic, we were down in Galway on Thursday night. We were in the Roisin Dove. We were doing a bit of reminiscing, getting a little bit nostalgic with Ray Silk and Pat Comer 20 years on. Pat Comer, I've never spoken to him before. Sub-goalie in 98, director of A Year Till Sunday. A great GAA man who really underplays his role in that team, and even though he'd been involved in the squad 15, 20 years, but he showed us some footage on the night, some on-scene footage of A Year Till Sunday of the team travelling up to Dublin, and there was clips there of Sean Purcell ahead of the game and the celebrations. Like, it's such a brilliant snapshot, a brilliant memento for you players to have 20 years on.
Yeah, he's great. Like, Pat had that video going the whole year, like, you know, but he wasn't intrusive with the video. He had it under a towel in the dressing room, and he's loads of footage, but he's a great man, Pat. Like, he used to, when the games were over, he used to go out fishing out in Carrow on a boat on his own, so no one would be nine him. But he used to always had the method that it was all down to history and geography, being born in the right place at the right time. That was his saying. As about teams being formed together. But it's a great memento to have it. It's just impossible to believe it's 20 years ago. So hence all the grey hairs now and all that kind of stuff moving on. But it's a great time for us. But time just has flown by, you know.
We had Michael Meehan there on Thursday night as well, and actually Ray Silk said that line about right place, right time, and we said to Michael, like, one of the great Galway forwards, not in the right place at the right time. He comes in a couple of years after winning the All-Ireland in 01 and misses out then on playing in an All-Ireland semi-final today by a couple of years. And Dick, in many ways, you're in a very similar position.
Yeah, I wouldn't have ever thought of Michael and how unfortunate he was, because, and probably injuries more so than timing, because I'd say Michael would be well fit to contribute off the bench the same way as Shawnee Armstrong's doing at a similar age. So listen, yeah, sometimes timing is everything. But from my point of view, I don't really listen. I'd long enough had it. I couldn't have stretched much more out of it. You know, we had plenty of sort of big days at this sort of level, maybe not just semi-final, but in terms of that sort of big game against, you know, against a top team in Croke Park. It just didn't get over the line, and but listen, it's great now to be going as a fan.
Yeah, what's it been like in Monaghan this week?
It's been strange. It's starting to pick up, because you're only a week, you see. Sometimes it takes a wee bit of time. Absolutely, it takes a wee bit of time for that whole momentum to build, and I think going into the weekend now, it's definitely starting to ramp up. The colours getting great around the town, and you know, I think everybody, I don't think I've spoken to anybody that's not going. You know, there's people, you know, there's the die-hard fans that have been all over the country at this stage, but then you've all the sort of, I wouldn't call them bandwagon, but you know, you've just kids and parents bringing them down, and I think any man, woman and child is fit to get to Croke Park for Monaghan. He's telling lies,
because I was in Monaghan the last couple of days, and the whole place is blue and white. My wife's a Monaghan woman.
Oh yeah.
So everywhere's blue and white. There was even a thing on the go there that if you went to work in Monaghan on Friday, you had to wear a blue and white. If you didn't, you couldn't go to work. So
I'm lucky, I don't work about Monaghan now, so yeah, I'm not in there every day. So yeah,
you can avoid the hype.
I can, yeah,
as much as possible. Liam, I guess this time 2 years ago, Tipp were preparing for an All-Ireland semi-final. You know all about the buzz and the hype. When you get to a high like that, a season like this, is it more of a disappointment, more of a frustration?
Yeah, the season was a disappointment and frustrating more than anything else. And I think the Cork match was the big one. But yeah, we lost. I suppose 3 games that we should have won. We lost to Roscommon in the league, we lost to Cavan in the league. We probably should have won both of those, and that would have given us promotion. And then we lost to Cork, and that really made a mess of our year. So that's it. If you don't turn up on the big day, you don't get what you want out of it, and that's the reality of it for us this year. I think we stagnated this year, which is disappointing. Yeah.
As a manager, how difficult is that part where there is no great sign of progression? Do you have to look at yourself, look at your management team, and somehow try and figure a way to reinvigorate? Like, are you fully intending on going back next year?
Yeah, I mean that's the intention. Yeah, and I mean we have to look at everybody. When you have a defeat like we had against Cork, where it's the first time in 11 championship matches in 3 years that we didn't show up for a championship match, and that was, you know, really disappointing. And you have to look at everything after that, you know. And in fairness, I suppose we did redeem ourselves to some extent against Mayo. But as I said to them in the dressing room afterwards, patronising, and you know, I don't want to patronise anybody and say that moral victories are any good to us now, because they're not.
Past that.
You know, when you got to a semi-final, an All-Ireland semi-final 2 years ago, well then moral victories are no good to you.
The reason I was asking, obviously, is because when you look at the short list of names for the Kerry job, you're right up there. Is it something you've thought about?
No. And I don't want to play the what if game. Every time the Kerry job comes up, I get asked questions, and I'm a broken record at this stage. And I what ifs are, you just don't want to go down that route, and I certainly don't want to go down that route. So they'll fill the Kerry job in time, and we just have to wait and see what that'll be.
Yeah.
I know as much about it as you do, or the papers do at this stage. Anyway.
All right, because I was just looking. You were 33-1. I thought we might get a little bit of insight.
I'd say keep your money in your pocket if that's the case.
Could lay off at that, could we?
The Saturday panel brought to you today with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade. Go on.
That's a good. I was 6-1 a week ago, so I obviously.
What have you done?
Somebody knows something. Somebody's doing something that I don't.
As I say, this afternoon we're here with Screwfix.ie, championing the trade with a choice of over 20,000 quality trade products. We're live on all our social channels as well. Facebook.com/off the ball, YouTube.com/off the ball, and on Twitter. If you do want to get in touch, if you have any questions for the lads, if you're travelling up to the game, 53106 is the text number. Do give us your thoughts ahead of Galway against Dublin. We'll get into previewing the two games shortly, but I wanted to get all your thoughts on the story, I guess, that's been everywhere this week, which is the level of abuse that is being directed at inter-county managers and players. It was Éamonn Fitzmaurice who really reopened the can of worms, because we all knew it was there. Here's what he had to say when he was talking to Owen Sheehan on OTBAM a little bit earlier in the week. Éamonn Fitzmaurice has been silenced there, unfortunately. We'll try and bring you that. I'm sure you all read the comments that came out initially when he was talking to Dave McIntyre on Sky after the game last week, that he felt that maybe he was a lightning rod for the criticism, and that was also starting to get to the players. And we've had numerous inter-county managers, James Horan, Micheál Donoghue, talking about hate mail. And listen, I didn't even think people had to go past Twitter anymore to put abuse out there. Like Liam, as an inter-county manager, I'm not sure as a football manager in Tipperary if it's quite the same as maybe what Mick Ryan would have faced as the hurling manager, but is it something you'd be well aware of, that there is letters coming in the post, that the level of criticism oversteps the mark quite regularly? Well,
I'm aware of it from other people's point of view, and you've mentioned Tipperary hurling manager would be Kerry manager and so on, but I have to say, I've managed Limerick, I've managed Tipperary, and I've managed Laois. I haven't got any letters. I got one or two complimentary letters, but I haven't got any abusive letters, touch wood, so far. The nearest that's come to it is some character when I was in charge of Laois. We were being beaten by Wexford, and he came down in Croke Park and started roaring, nothing about Laois football and so on. So that was the closest I came to getting abuse, I suppose, in relation to it. So maybe I've been lucky, but I would say, yeah, it's the counties where they expect to get results. I would say they're the counties that come under most pressure. But there's no place where, as Éamonn Fitzmaurice said, telling a player to jump off a cliff and take, that guy should be, to be honest, I think that guy should be prosecuted, whoever he is. That'd be my view. But I can't say I've personal experience of it.
You're from Kerry, so you know the intense pressure that's there to succeed, and an expectation, and I think someone was writing about this, almost an entitlement for success among some Kerry supporters, not realising how difficult it is to actually go and win over 30 All-Ireland titles.
Yeah.
Is it particularly venomous? Do you see that looking from the outside at what's aimed at the Kerry football manager, that it feels different to even other counties?
There's huge interest in it. I was reminded of Paul Galvin. I read his book, and he said he was in a hardware store buying something Sunday, and a 70-year-old man came up and caught him by the wrist. And he just welled up, tears in his eyes, and it was after they'd been beaten by Dublin in an All-Ireland semi-final or final, and he didn't say anything, he couldn't say anything, and Paul just said to him, I know, and that's how much it meant. But I mean, there's some people are over the top about it, and that's the reality of it, and in these counties you're going to get some of that spilling over into abusive letters. Now, I wouldn't condone that. I don't think anybody should be getting abusive letters for an amateur sport, but unfortunately it is.
Ricey McMenamin down in Galway, and I think Joe McMahon was on the show yesterday, and look, it's easy a decade on after getting these letters to look back and laugh, but for young 19, 20, 21-year-old Kerry players who are just emerging wondering, am I going to have to put up with this for the next decade? It's a totally different story. But like Ricey was telling stories of, weirdly, a letter coming from Kerry abusing him and going into some of the really terrible things that happened around Tyrone football over the last decade, and bringing all this up, and really nasty, vitriolic stuff that you just wouldn't expect. Like, as a player, is it something you would have seen? Was it more online in the last couple of years?
Yeah, you see letter writing, really, it's probably anyone under 30 may have never written a letter in their life. I'd say it's probably an older thing, but like social media in terms of Twitter or message boards, that's the forum for the younger generation to really have the go, and they do, and if you're very active at that level. So I'm sure a lot of the young Kerry players, they might never get a letter, but they'll get plenty through other forums, because that's the way a lot of the communication is done now. And it is tough, and there's been plenty of instances over the last couple of years in different counties you hear of pressure players found and getting slaughtered on message boards and these things. And yeah, you say that shouldn't matter, it shouldn't circulate, but the reality is that's what people are reading, and that sets the sort of narrative, and it is difficult, and it's not. You're fighting against the tide and stuff like that. It's not something that we can talk about it. We can sort of say how bad it is, but it's just because how passionate people are about the GA. You won't get it. I'm not being disingenuous about rugby, because you don't have that real die-hard passion for your club or your county. Soccer as well, maybe not in Ireland, but GA people are just so passionate in Kerry and that, and especially in the successful counties, because you get to a level, and when that success goes, you just want it back, and it's so tough for them not to get it. And I was just laughing. I was talking to Liam before. Monaghan's at now at the minute, I can guarantee you Malachy O'Rourke will not get any letters, because they're not just at that level of tradition, of success, of demand. Almost it's okay not to succeed. You'll still get that sort of pat in the back, and sometimes you need that little bit of a pressure and edge to keep you up there and push you over the line. So you don't want hate mail
for the Tyrone players if they lose tomorrow compared to the Monaghan players.
Exactly. Yeah. So it does come hand in hand with success, but obviously for Éamonn Fitzmaurice it just got almost intolerable. And I can only imagine what they have to deal with down there.
It's very difficult, particularly for those younger players now, to switch off, not to go on Twitter, because also they want to see if there's something good been said, but by and large it's going to be pretty negative. It's almost impossible at this stage to switch off and not hear it.
For every good comment you'll get about yourself, there's probably 10 the other way, and that's just the way social media goes.
I thought it was a bit disappointing as well during the week. Éamonn Fitzmaurice came out and said it, but then all of a sudden there's a raft of people out behind him that, I got them. And he talked about the Galway minor hurling manager got something from the parents. Look, does that need to be aired in the public? I personally don't think it does. I feel sorry for the guy that gets them, but look, I think they should just put them to bed and just move on from it. There's no point dragging it out a couple of days later. Fair enough. Éamonn's one you can identify with, because you can't name players and jump off a cliff was a terrible comment to make, but look, I got a letter, we've all got them just stating about the state of the team and this, that, other, but you don't throw them in the bin, they light a fire.
Yeah. And in fairness to Éamonn, I think he brought it up. He brought it up to protect the players.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, not
because of the player.
Éamonn's grievance, 100% behind. It's no place in that, But in general, you can't say that Kerry footballer supporters are bad people. There's one or two bad eggs in every.
It's a minority. There is a minority.
I guess a lot of these managers, when they're bringing it up, though, even if it is a couple of years ago, it's just to show the level of pressure that is put on you, because people look at an inter-county job as if it's the dream job for people, and it's all sweetness in life. It's not.
And I'm sure if Jack O'Connor spoke to Pat O'Shea and Éamonn Fitzmaurice, if they compare the three letters they got, you can guarantee the handwriting is probably the same. It's coming from the same probably couple all the time.
You're just giving them oxygen, really, and you're giving people ideas in their head. So
unfortunately, back in our time, I'm not saying the youth of today have more access to social media. Back in our time, you talk about Ryan McMillan, he'd give you a running commentary when you're marking him. Great crack.
Didn't need to write a letter.
But when the game is over, he'd shake your hand and you go for a beer. It was great. Whereas nowadays, I don't think with social media that fellas are kind of more prepared to deal with that kind of criticism, and they're probably not fit for it as much as not as thick-skinned as we were.
Is that bond between players from opposite teams still there? Maybe it's different sets of players at different stages of their career come together, because down in Galway, a lot of your era would speak about that Kildare team that you beat in '98, and that Kildare group would often come down to Galway for a weekend, and you'd still all meet up.
They do come down, like I know Glenn Ryan and Dermot Hurley and Anthony Rainbow, the McCormack gang, them come down to Galway every year for the races, and they meet a few of the boys on Wednesday night, and they go in a bar in the hole in the wall in Galway, a few bets and a few drinks, and they go racing together on Thursday. But there's a great bond with them boys. I met Dermot loads of time, play golf together, and even the Kerry boys I played with, Darren, Tomas and Seamus Mind, them lads, I meet them regular, and all that kind of stuff. Even Steve McDonald and Armagh, Kieran McGeaney, them lads. There's a great bond amongst I have with him anyway. So nowadays, I'm not so sure is there that same bond, because you're watching teams coming into Croke Park and they're all wearing headphones. Like there's no one talking on the buses. There's in our time there was no these big Beats headphones, and you had to talk to the guy beside you. Whereas nowadays I'm just wondering, do they talk, or what level do they come in at? You know,
there is good friends. Like I think college teams, university, you know, you've seen a lot of county players now mixing at that level, and I know they'll be very friendly. I was down in Killarney last weekend for the Kerry game, and I actually bumped into a few of the Kildare players. Niall Kelly was there. Next thing he took a Snapchat. He said, "Well, I'm going to send this to Ryan Wiley," you know, because Ryan's teammate from UCD, and there would be, and that would have been a big bonding area for inter-county players. Interprovincials used to be a good forum for mixing. Now it's a pity to see that falling away, because a lot of my friendships in other counties would have come through that, so it's disappointing. So I can see it's something that's probably going to start to filter down when teams are getting thick.
And it is like, I was involved last year with international rules in the last couple of years, but there's a huge level of like, okay, they come in a bit shy, but by the time it's all over, they're great pads. But that's on a certain elite, higher level. You know, there's a lot of inter-county players. I don't know, are they?
How do you feel? How do you find it, Liam, dealing with lads in their early 20s now? Because we've had coaches in here over the last year or so talking about they feel that millennials, should we call them, that this very much the younger generation, lads under 25, are very different from even fellas from 10 years ago, because they have their heads in their phones all the time, that to try and get their attention, to get their concentration. How do you work through that? Have you noticed a change over the last
it is different. I've noticed it. I mean, when I came back into inter-county football, I took a break for about 5 years. I came back into inter-county football, I got involved with Roscommon, because I said, you know, there's huge changes in 5 years, and that's what I found. Social media, analysis of games, all of that kind of stuff had moved on hugely in 5 years. So I learned an awful lot then from being involved in the coaching side of it, and then I went back in with Tipperary after that. But no, the players in general, the fundamentals stay the same, but you are operating in an era of social media. I think that is the huge.
But does your message need to be shorter?
WhatsApp and all of that. I didn't have WhatsApp 5 years when I was involved. 5 years previously, there was no WhatsApp groups or any of that. And then when I came back 5 years later, this was the way, the medium for connecting with the players and contacting the players. But I think the basics are the same. You know, as regards a football team and bonding and all of that kind of thing. I think they're the same. But you're in a social media age, and that is the big change for me anyway. And I think the other thing I found is that the preparations are gone through the roof now. In 5 years they went from a certain level to at least 2 levels above that again, and since I've been involved the last 3 years, I think they're still rising, and you're just kind of wondering yourself, well, when is it going to level off or plateau, and when is it going to? But you know, you've got to. I don't know how far more we can go as an amateur association. You know,
that's a difficult thing for a manager, because especially a team like Tipperary, who've been on the rise over the last couple of years. There's a lot of young players. They've seen their friends go to the AFL. They hear back what a proper, full professional setup looks like, and they want to get as close to that as possible, while somehow remaining within the amateur ethos. Like, it's hard for you to say, actually, we've done enough here, when they're looking at Dublin, they're looking at other counties that are more successful, who may have more time, who don't need to spend as much time travelling. Do you ever say enough is enough? Do you ever try and take them out of it?
No, you try to that's the reality for all of us. You've got to try to improve. I mean, we stagnated last year, so next year now we're going to have to find extra edges in different areas to try and move it on again, and that's the reality of it. So, no, the answer would be that you've got to keep chasing it, and you've got to, you know, and I think myself, I don't know whether the Super 8s have shown to me anyway, the level of fitness levels of the likes of Monaghan, Kildare, Mayo, Kerry, the top teams are gone to another level. You know, Dublin, obviously, they're right up there as well. But I think they're all getting to the level. I mean, playing 7, 8, 9 games in 11 weeks and that kind of thing, that's serious. And the players seem to be able to do it.
Well, I was very interested in listening to Kevin McStay about Roscommon and his feeling that maybe physically that they weren't quite there yet, even though this is a Roscommon team who at underage level have had huge success. They've all been around an inter-county setup. They've won a Connacht championship. They've played big games in Croke Park. That even still he feels they're that step behind Dublin, Donegal, Tyrone.
I great time for Kevin McStay. I think he's been a breath of fresh air as a manager. I was at the Donegal game down there. It wasn't physicality that lost in that game. There was just serious deficiencies from a team setup. You know, no kick-out strategy, stuff like that. And you know, people talk about Dublin now, like, you know, what's setting Dublin aside at the minute for me is not their physicality. It's just good coaching. They have a great manager, and these guys are coached with the nth of their ability. They're all maxing out. And there's very few other counties can say the same. You know, like the players aren't coming in as big as they were in terms of just huge units of men as they were for a while. You know, but they're just really well coached, and you just see how and if you look closely at the Dublin players, how proficient they are in all the skills, making right decisions. And when it comes down to that means there's nothing any other county can't replicate in terms of coaching. And look what's starting to happen now at Leinster. The Kildares, the Meads, the Wicklows at minor underage level, they're starting to get their act together at underage level, and they're starting to be able to compete because kids are coming out, and that's, if you go to Meath in these counties, they'll admit they were asleep at the wheel there for too long in terms of development, and they can compete at that level because they've been coached right and they're coming up through the system, and they're as good as the Dublin players. But they need to sustain that through and allow these players to develop, and that's where things I think fall off. You talk about the new generation, they just want that instant success. They're just not willing to put in 3, 4, 5 years in senior level, and the whole thing falls away.
The downside is that young kids are coached to an inch of their life. So they're overcoached. Some of them, and it's like they're stifled really. You know, there's like you have to be able to go out and express yourself as a young person up until you're at least 18, anyways. You know, underage. But now you see sweepers playing under 14s, under 16s. It's crazy. Like it's just. Like there's a huge emphasis on winning the game, like you know yourself. But you go back, like I know 20 years ago in Galway with a 98, like we trained Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And when there was a championship weekend, you come close to championship, you train Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. That was a 98. When I retired in 2012, we trained 10 times. I trained 10 times. Galway trained 10 times in a week. Like it's only 7 days in the week, like. So it got that level in the space of a few years. Talk about mobile phones and WhatsApps. Like I think the prize for a 98 All-Star was getting a mobile phone with 9 buttons on it. You know, and like, there was no text that time.
But also it was ability. It was ability, and it was down to skills.
A skill set. It was focused on skills. Whereas now, like it
went to athleticism, and I think it might.
I know teams nowadays train like they go and train at 9 o'clock some mornings. They don't come out till 6 in the evening. Like they do sessions and set plays, and it's gone so technical. Like I don't know like how long players will sustain that.
It is, but I don't know if you've seen many minor games this year. I think the minor grade, that you're younger again, has added like they play with an innocence, and there is a little bit of but it's like a world away from the senior game.
But that's what I'm saying.
Because they just go out and play. A lot of them do.
They should be allowed to play.
That's right, and they do.
They should be allowed to that.
But the reality is that the best preparation for senior football, because it reminds me actually often of watching, say, in football, the FA Youth Cup, and you watch Chelsea and Manchester City at under 18 level, and it's some of the best football you'll ever see. But it's not real life. It's not real football. There's nobody clattering into you at 100 miles an hour like they are at St James's Park today. And maybe that's where the step up comes. So how do you cultivate that in the other counties in Leinster so that they are ready and they're willing to stick around? Because is that another part of the problem, all that good stuff you're saying that these counties are doing, that if they're 18, 19 and they're looking at how far their county is behind Dublin, they're wondering, well, am I going to commit to this for the next 10 years? When realistically, have I any chance of even winning a Leinster title?
And see, that's the thing. It's like I always said, success breeds success, and Monaghan are starting to reap rewards in that. Like we're going up tomorrow, not just the seniors, we've our minor team now. Who'd have thought that 10 years? If you told someone in Monaghan, not just whatever, but a senior team making the punch, because you're always so far away at minor grade, but that has come through for that last 10-15 years. People want to play for Monaghan, they want to come in, and next thing the development squads and the standard of football raises, and next thing you're producing minor teams that are winning Ulster titles and beyond. And I think it does take sometimes in a county just a group of players to sort of push it through, and then next thing you get to a level that the success sustains itself to
that's where the Tipperary football team came from. This present one
you just kept at it, and they just kept at it, and it is tough, like there's no getting away from it, but I think it has to be sold in more so than just success and medals, because the reality is if you're a young Leinster footballer, the chance of medals in Leinster is very small, but there's so much more to be got out of playing GA as well. You know, the Super 8s even, like that is such a carrot now for a team to get to. You'd love to have got to that. I know you said it's difficult, but what an experience for the likes of the Tipperaries been in that competition, because it was massive for counties like that, and I think there's a huge amount there, but young people just want more and they want it immediate, you know.
53106 is the text number if you want to get in touch. We're joined in the studio by Dick Clerkin, by Liam Kearns and by Pádraic Joyce. I do want to get on to the two matches. So Galway this afternoon, 26 straight wins for Dublin in the senior championship, bidding for four in a row. You're talking about teams getting the maximum out of themselves tactically. Your former teammate Kevin Walsh, is he getting the maximum out of this Galway team, or do you think there's still more to come over this season and the next couple of years?
Look, there's definitely more to come in the team, the way they're playing. Like, I mean, Kevin when he played with us midfield, like he was kind of the orchestrator at the time. Like we used to call him Daddy at the time because we were young lads. He was always telling us where to go, what to do. He's a huge tactical brain. Like he was always and ever going to be a Galway manager, you know. I know he applied for the minor job there years ago and wasn't successful, that's what sent him down to Sligo for maybe 3 years, which was hard to believe. But he's back now. Look at he's had a style of play the last couple of years that the general public in Galway mightn't be happy with. But look at when you look back at it, like you look at Pat Gilroy came into Dublin, what he had to do. Like he was like they went through the same method starting off, going very defensive because he called them to start Learwigs against Tyrone one year. They didn't know what to do. Whereas at least like you get a base. Like you go back to Eric Cantona in '96. Apparently told Alex Ferguson unless he gets a defender, he was leaving the club, and he gets in Yapstam and they win the league that year. United win 7 games 1-0. Cantona scores a goal in each game. Like you have to get a foundation at the back as such. Like you know. Now while we've done that, we need to develop to come out and about a bit more. Maybe get up front and try and support more up front. Like, but one thing that we have in Galway is skillful forwards. We're never short in getting a few forwards, you know, and you can manufacture a back. No offence to the defenders, like, but you can manufacture a wing back or whatever. But like we have plenty of talented players like Ian Burke, Shane Walsh, Damien Comer, Eamon Brannigan has plenty of potential. Yeah. Michael Daly, these guys, like they can explode if they get the ball, but like they need to get the basics right of how to defend and build up the confidence over the years. That's what Kevin has done. We're now on probably the biggest game we've played in 20 years in Galway since 2001, All-Ireland semi-final. He spoke about Mike Meehan early on. He never got to a semi-final. We're here now. Like it's a massive challenge, but look at the players themselves have to rise up and say, look, it's my time to make a name for myself and give it all they can today. Yeah,
Jeff Allen said, I think it was at half-time in '98, that he'd never felt as tired and as leggy when you went in 3 points down, that he had to go somewhere he'd never gone before. And obviously we all know what happened in the second half, one of the great All-Ireland performances. That's what 3 of these counties are going to have to do over the next couple of games if they're to win the All-Ireland final. You're probably going to have to go somewhere as a player you've never gone before. And, you know, looking at Galway, I'm very interested to see Galway, not just from where Galway is at in terms of how they can push Dublin really to sort of benchmark Monaghan, because everyone's sort of, you know, looking at the game last weekend and how good were Galway, how tuned in were they mentally, and because, you know, if Monaghan, put it like this, if Monaghan are that good that they can beat a top performing Galway team by double scores in Pearse Park, well, there's no reason why Monaghan not only shouldn't be winning tomorrow, should push Dublin all the way. So I'm expecting a much better performance from Galway. I think everyone is. There's way too much been read into that. I think so, there is.
They're already qualified. Look, they weren't going to kill themselves. They were going to be playing in 7 days' time regardless. Like, and no disrespect to Tyrone or Donegal, whoever came through, it was still going to be a tough game. Like, so they were qualified already as it was. So look, I think people are reading far too much into that. We have skillful players, like, but it's up to us, as you say early on about players going to somewhere they haven't gone before. Like, you're still down to the basics. Like, don't give the ball up. You watch teams that lose games, it's the team that makes the least mistakes. Like, end of the day, like, you're still going to be fit enough, but it's how you react in a quick second when there's 2 or 3 dubs coming at you. You give the quick hand pass, quick kick pass, little flick, support the right ball. It's small things that'll change big games, like, you know.
And just going back to Kevin Walsh, like, he inherited a Division 2 team, you know, who were stagnated and stuck in Division 2. I mean, they've now a Division 1 team competing in Division 1 finals. They're in an All-Ireland semi-final. Yes, he's had a few setbacks. Losing to us in an All-Ireland quarter-final didn't do him any good, and losing to Roscommon in the provincial final when they were overwhelming favourites also. But you'd have to say in 4 years they've come on a huge amount, and they're now back in the top 6 in the country. So to me, Kevin Walsh has done a great job for 4 years, and that's the reality of it. And now there's a huge building block there to go and build for the future. As you say, they can only get better.
Like even Dublin today, like if you look at Galway, even this season, like as such, like they've improved so much from last season. Like Dublin is the only kind of 2 kind of meaningful games that counties haven't beaten. There's route them in the league and didn't beat them. The Monaghan game we're not going to really count, but like now is a chance for Galway. It's a huge occasion. Like, and you'd be hoping that all the talk about referees all week, with Barry Cassidy refereeing the game, that the occasion doesn't get them. That they get, I know in the league final, say there was a couple of dodgy frees kind of after half time, that when Dublin had the guy sent off. Normally when a team gets someone sent off, they get the next couple of frees kind of soft enough to balance it out. So just want to get all the decisions kind of Galway will need all them decisions to go in their favour today, and a couple more to try and topple Dublin, you know.
Yeah, you need about 6 different things to go in your favour to beat this Dublin side, and they do ask questions that no other team ask. And say Galway do go with a quite defensive, hard-hitting setup, and you see Damien Comer dropping back very deep, and you see Shane Walsh dropping back very deep, and it's tight with 20 minutes left. Is that where the difficulty then starts, as to, do you stick with what's worked for the first 45-50 minutes and kept you into the game, and then you go for it, or do you just hope that somehow you grind out a 1-point win?
You're going to have to, at a very, sounds very simplistic, outscore them. And what I mean by that is you have to go out with a mentality that, right, Dublin's going to knock up a minimum of 16 points. So to beat them, we have to be hitting close to 20. And you know, the only way you're going to do that against the Dublins of this world is go out with a bit of an offensive approach. If you're too, like because we made that mistake, and too many teams have made that mistake, thinking you can close it down and hit them on the break, you just won't beat Dublin like that. They need to score goals. So to score goals, you need to create goals. So the likes of Damien Comer, these guys, they need to be near the goals. If Damien Comer was rooting around the middle of the field from early on, the game's dust.
Yeah, Michael Meehan was suggesting actually that maybe something that he might change this time is actually just keep Damien Comer right there. And
he's a threat
well, Comer caused them more problems than any other forward in the country over the last 2 or 3 years in the league, in the National League game.
If Dublin are to have a suspected line, you would be targeting their full back line, but unfortunately I've never seen Dublin in the last 24 games been 4 points to 1 down or 5 points to 1 down after 10 minutes, because when teams play them, they come out and just sit back, and they allow Johnny Cooper and they allow Philly McMahon solo forward and James McCarthy and these lads. So look, hopefully, but to beat Dublin you have to have about 4 or 5 different game plans. You got to push up at stages, you got to sit back, you got to try and watch the kick outs, there's loads of them, but you have to be adaptable on the pitch to what they're doing. And it's alright the manager on the line saying do this, do that, but the players themselves need to man up and realise, well, there's a danger there, I got to quench that, I got to go here.
And you'd hope Galway learned from the league final when they went down to 14 men. They didn't actually change their system.
We got outscored like 6-2.
I would hope that they would now. I would hope that they would change and would be capable of changing.
Where are Dublin then? Because you look at the Super 8s, the first day out at Croke Park against Donegal was a very strange game. It was very flat. Donegal never looked like winning it, but also Dublin never got to fifth gear. Second time out, Tyrone seemed to finish the stronger and give themselves a chance certainly of drawing that game, and then obviously they blew Roscommon apart. Have they been gearing up for this weekend all year?
Oh yeah. Oh, I think so, yeah. Definitely, I think they've been building towards it. I think it's all in their favour. Everything is in their favour. The present format, like they were able to rest all their players last week.
9 changes in the team that's been announced.
Yeah, still won easily and bring in guys who are totally fresh now against the Galway team that played only 6 days ago in their own backyard and came off a defeat at the end of the day. And people can say it doesn't matter, but it does matter. And I think you know, you look at Monaghan and Tyrone, as I said to Dick there, they've something like 9 or 10 games in 11 weeks played. You know, that there's no doubt the freshest team and possibly the best team in the last 4 are Dublin, and so it's definitely stacked in their favour, and it's going to take a huge effort from any of the other 3 teams to beat them, you know.
Do you expect Jim Gavin rewards the players who played well last week? Do you expect him to start Cormac Costello?
No, I'd say he'll probably go with pretty much close to the team that he has named, which is probably his strongest hand. I'd say if you had to pick now, it doesn't get weakened if you slot a few guys in. We know that, but I just think, and I've said this a couple of times over the last few years, like you can't give Jim Gavin enough credit in terms of to maintain and you know Liam's as a manager. To try and get any group of players to sustain a top level of performance is so difficult, because there's so many variables. Just like there's so many reasons why a player's performance can dip, and collectively it can dip, and it just doesn't happen. And to be performing at that level is just a phenomenal achievement from a management point of view. And they're going out again. Everyone, look at Paul Flynn bursting. Like, what age is Paul Flynn? 33, 34. All the medals he has, and he's bursting now to get back in.
Like it is that depth. I was sitting where the players warm up for the Donegal game, just in front of it, and it's just one after another, from Costello to Flynn.
Well, the man you meant Cormac, I think he's brilliant, and he won an All-Ireland for them 3 years ago, whatever. He's had a load of injuries, but like Brian Howard has been out again. We were discussing this out here. Like, he's been sensational this year, and he's come out. And I'd heard about him 2 years ago. This guy's very good, and you'd be nodding your head, but you never expect him to come in his first year at senior level and boss the game. And that's what he's done in a couple of games. He's been close to man of the match in nearly most of the games. That's phenomenal. So they're producing, and he keeps, as you say, Jim Gavin keeps introducing players, and he keeps everybody on their toes. And if you're not performing, you don't make it, and that's the way it works.
Yeah. So that's the game today. Tomorrow then is Monaghan's day. How different are the teams now than the teams that met in the Ulster Championship?
I think they're both immeasurably better. They've improved, you know, and both of them got their defeats and their check to improve. You know, Tyrone losing to Monaghan that day, that would have give them a chance to regroup, because they were poor in Omagh. Likewise, when Monaghan went out the next day and lost to Fermanagh, they were shockingly bad, and everyone sort of knew that, and the team, and they've improved. They've changed their style of play slightly, their personnel. They've probably both found their best team, and what makes them tick. So that mix between attack and work rate around the middle. They're both coming into the match near enough at full fitness, no major injuries. So I think both teams couldn't probably ask to be going into a semi-final in better rude health, which I don't think it's going to be a game for the purists. You know, both teams don't kick the ball an awful lot. I think it will be a wee bit sort of lateral, a lot of hand pass. I hope from a Monaghan's point of view, it's intense. I hope there's contact, because that's what Monaghan need. Monaghan and back, even when we were playing, you need that bit of grit, you need a bit of contact to sort of get you off the front foot. And again, from any game, they didn't have that, and they just weren't able to lift it. And too many times when we've gone to Croke Park, you didn't introduce that into the game, especially against Tyrone those few years. And by the time you did get into the game was away from you. So I hope Monaghan sort of try and set the agenda, not let Tyrone dictate.
Yeah, they've shown unbelievable character several times during the season already, particularly after David Clifford's late goal against Kerry. It'd be easy to believe with the history of the last 5-6 years of thinking, we're just not there. We're just not good enough to get to an All-Ireland semi-final. Put in that performance down in Galway, and it answered a lot of questions, because McManus, we know, is possibly the best forward in the country, was outstanding against Kerry, but against Galway, it was the players around him who started to shine. Ryan McInnesby, the 4 points, like a couple of the best points we've seen all this year. Suddenly there's a lot of guys you feel you can rely on in that Monaghan team.
So one of the big concerns for Monaghan was obviously with Conor, but there's a lot of honest guys, and when I say honest, you couldn't imagine what they will go to the well for you to do, and you know, like Ryan McInnesby, Dermot Malone, Fintan Kelly, Shane Kelly, as honest as the day is long, but the concern was they were too honest, and they sacrificed too much of their game working and working hard, and as a forward they weren't getting scores, because you know it's very hard to do all that work and still get up the top end. And I always felt Monaghan ultimately suffered more, because at the end of the day, if Manzi was shut down, or we didn't get a few extra points from Rory Beggan, you were just left short. So they have stepped up, they've started getting scored. Like Shane Kerry hit 3 against Kildare, Ryan McInnesby hit a couple against Laois, he popped up with scores, and then hit 4 against Galway. You know, Finty Kelly does chip in with scores, so that has helped, but that has to continue. Those guys have to, maybe, I was saying to Liam, I'm sort of hoping about 5 or 6 points between those workers, because you need that, because Conor's not going to get 1-9 like he did against Kerry. He's going to, if he can get sort of 5-6 points out of himself, that's a good day at the office against a fairly tight Tyrone fence. So you're going to need to be getting, you know, a good return from that area of the pitch.
The physicality side of it then, and you want to see them ready to match, like, is that something Malachy O'Rourke really needs to drill into them in the dressing room? Let's go and show Tyrone that even though it's our big day at Croke Park and they're well used to this kind of thing,
yeah,
as ready as ever.
Because and it's not just about being physical for the sake of it, it's just those players respond to it. You know, they play well in that close contact. They're better county footballers when they're playing like that. When it's all standoffish and you're trying to have a sort of lateral, they just don't play as well. And that's why, you know, and it'll sort of raise the attention. Like the Monaghan crowd love that. They love to see Dermot Malone's and these guys getting in, turning people over, raises the crowd, and it gives everyone a huge amount of energy. You know, like Darren Hughes. Darren Hughes is a typical example. When the game is sort of slow and lateral, like Darren Hughes might be we'll see when it's off the cuff and it's intense and breaking ball, he can burst into life and do things very few players, because of his pure raw physicality. Quite
a change in 12 months for Tyrone, from leaving Croke Park after last year's All-Ireland semi-final, pretty much humiliated, a winter of discontent, a lot of infighting, a lot of former players critical of the style of play, yet here Mickey Harte is again. How's he done it?
Well, I think he hasn't thrown out. He said that he was going to stick with the system, which he has. He's tweaked it. He's doing better. He's getting more off the bench. That's definitely has made a big difference. I think his injuries have cleared up. He lost a lot of good players early on. His injuries have cleared up, and they're coming right at the right time. But he hasn't changed the system of play a huge amount. I'd say they're a little bit more offensive. Their transitioning is a bit better, but ultimately they'll set up defensively, and they'll want teams to come onto them and they'll hit them on the break. They are tremendously good at hitting you on the break, and you know they've got huge pacey players who will finish at the other end, and they've built it up. But let's be honest, they could have gone out to Meath. You know, they were very lucky to come out of and even they probably were the better team, but they were very lucky to come out of that. But they've built it up gradually now, and I think they're in a very good place now. But I felt that they'd give Dublin a real good game last year, and they didn't. So we'll just have to see. Again, they've lost 3 All-Ireland semi-finals in the last decade, and you know we think of Tyrone when they get to All-Ireland semi-final stage. They've won All-Irelands obviously, and Mickey Harte's won All-Irelands, but their record in semi-finals hasn't been good in the last decade. This is a great opportunity for Monaghan, but you still come back to the fact that Monaghan, if you hold McManus and you hold Rory Beggan, or will Monaghan have the answers elsewhere? And for that reason, I'd probably be going with Tyrone.
A lot of texts coming in. As a Kerry fan, I'd just like to wish Éamonn Fitzmaurice all the best for the future and thank him for him and his team for the great enjoyment they gave us year in, year out. From Mickey Wall in Tralee. Was on the pitch in Salt Hill last week after the game. Trackers on the backs of the players. No such thing the last time Monaghan were in an All-Ireland semi-final, says Mark in Emmyvale.
He had to see a nose thing come in.
Peter Sheridan, who's watching us on Facebook. Dublin, Galway is the biggest mismatch in recent All-Ireland semi-final history. Galway won't get within 10 points of the Dubs. Galway, the most overrated side in Ireland.
Over to you, Pádraic.
Everybody's entitled to their opinion.
You're looking at prediction-wise then for today and looking ahead to the All-Ireland final. Is anyone going to get within 5 points of Dublin today or an All-Ireland final day?
It may sound cliche. There's very few poor teams get to this stage of the championship. I think, all things being equal, Dublin are still 5-6 points. So now we're all watching sports of all different walks of life over the years. Stranger things have happened than Dublin losing a one-off game against any of the 4 teams. Okay, things have happened. I went to watch Dublin Donegal in 2014 after Dublin hockeyed us in the quarter-final, thinking there's nobody going to touch this Dublin team. And I'm in the same way as I'm thinking it now. And look what happened. Now, that's because Donegal brought something different to the table. It's a question whether Galway can do something different. Push them, ask questions of them. That bit of luck, you need all of that, but it can happen. But you have to sort of push it and you have to try and make it happen. All things being equal.
The Donegal game a couple of years ago, Dublin were 6-2 up, 6-1 in the 2 massive goal chances.
That bit of luck, Pádraic, they didn't get those goals,
10 point didn't get them, and then Donegal obviously came down the pitch and got the goals. That's what's Galway. Galway's going to need goals today. They're going to need 2, if not 3 goals today. And again, we have to keep cornering the boys near the goal. Look, as a Galway man, you're probably, if I'd money to it on the match, you'd obviously couldn't back again Dublin. But I think there's something in this Galway team. I think there's a kick in them, and I think they go very, very, very close today.
I hope it's important that they go close. And let's be honest here, the hurling has put football in the shade for the whole year, let's be honest, and we badly need a couple of competitive All-Ireland semi-finals now this weekend, and I hope, sincerely hope that Galway are going to really push them. But the thing about Dublin is that they play most games on their terms, and you've got to if you play the game on Dublin's terms, you're not going to win. You've got to bring them out of their comfort zone, and you've got to get them bring them to places, as you say, that they haven't been before. And unfortunately, there aren't too many teams capable of doing that. And it'll be interesting to see if Galway can come up with something different to do that.
Texter pointing out that Dublin haven't won 26 games in a row in the championship. They did draw with Mayo twice, which I should really remember, but they are 26 games unbeaten. Give me the 2 counties that'll play the All-Ireland final.
Monaghan and Dublin.
We're the real neutral here.
My heart would like to say Galway and Monaghan, but my head says Dublin Tyrone, unfortunately.
And for a bit of crack, I'll say Galway Monaghan, because we'll have a bit of crack in Monaghan.
Well, you have to say Monaghan, Pádraic. You're too close. You've one foot in Monaghan County, so don't be careful.
Lads, great stuff. Enjoy the game this evening. Enjoy the game tomorrow as well. Dick Clerkin, Liam Kearns, Pádraic Joyce, thanks a lot for joining us on our Saturday panel. That'll be up on offtheball.com shortly if you want to listen back. It's still Newcastle 1, Spurs 2, 20 minutes left. We're talking football next.
Join the conversation. Text us on 53106. Texts cost 30 cents.
Bruce Betting Sportsbook, Casino and now Live Casino. Download the Bruce Betting app to see why for the Premier League, Bruce Betting are giving you more. With price boosts, live in-play betting, cash out and ACCA insurance. Make Bruce Betting your Premier League bookmaker. Bruce Betting, in-store, online and now on your phone. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
It's not enough for a hotel to be located in one of the most beautiful places on earth. It must be worthy of its surroundings. At the Brehon Killarney, exceptional service awaits you. Explore the National Park, soak up Killarney's summertime atmosphere, or unwind in the Angsana Spa. Book today at thebrehon.com and let us amaze you.
Summer's for getting out and spending time with the kids. So if you're thinking about the back-to-school shop, we've made it easy at Dunnes Stores, with all of our school uniforms available to buy online at dunnesstores.com. Plus, order online before 10 p.m. Sunday to Friday for next day delivery right to your door. Dunnes Stores, always better value. See online for details, terms and conditions apply.
Yeah, he was in the doghouse all night.
Yeah?
Well, no, he was in the car.
Oh.
Yeah, ran our battery down, listened to the radio like.
What?
Wouldn't start the next morning.
The radio?
No, the car. So first she throws him out.
Of the house?
No, the car. And then she rings Post Insurance Breakdown Assist.
For the...
Well, for what else? For the car.
Life's unpredictable. Don't worry, we get it. Post Insurance car policies come with breakdown assistance you can rely on. Call us on 1890 222222 for a car insurance quote today. Post Insurance. Expect more. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. One Direct Ireland Limited, trading as Post Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of An Post.
Hi, my name is Gary, and I've come through some really difficult times in my life. I started to run small little amounts. It was slow, but it was great. Running, it's my be-all and end-all in terms of managing my mental health.
When we go through tough times, little things can make a big difference to your mental health. Visit yourmentalhealth.ie. Brought to you by the HSC.
That's the sound of Kieran, relaxing with a book. Thanks to all the time he's saved on the laundry, he can fit more clothes in his new, large-capacity Zanussi 9kg washing machine that he bought from Harvey Norman. He got this washing machine for the low price of €379. It was delivered and installed using one of Harvey Norman's installation packages, and the old one was taken away free of charge. Visit Harvey Norman today, in store or online.
Go, Harvey, go!
Hi, I'm Pat. After becoming a mom for the first time, I was alarmed by the amount of waste we generated, from plastic wraps to bottles and boxes, not to mention nappies. I soon realized that although recycling was a good answer, it wasn't tackling the real problem. We all buy and throw away so many single-use disposable materials every day. That needed to change, and that was exactly what I did. I started Reusey to create a one-stop shop for everyday products designed to help you reduce waste. A place where a more sustainable life is made easy. Visit Reusey today at reusable.ie to learn more.
On 106 to 108 FM and at newstalk.com. This is News Talk.
I'm Adrian Harmon. The maker of well-known weed killer is reassuring consumers it's safe to use after a jury in the US backed a caretaker who said it contributed to his cancer. Dwayne Johnson's lawyer said he regularly used Roundup and a similar product, Ranger Pro, while working at a school. He's been awarded €253 million in compensation. An airline employee is believed to have died after stealing a plane and crashing it into a small island in Washington state. F-15 fighter jets were scrambled to intercept the aircraft, which was seen doing stunts before bursting into flames when it hit the ground. Seattle-Tacoma Airport is one of the busiest in America. The incident delayed these passengers' arrival there.
They said there was some kind of emergency somewhere on the runway, and of course everyone's pulling out their phone and seeing this crazy story.
We landed and we were sitting in a long line just waiting.
Two men in their 30s have appeared in court this morning, charged in connection with an investigation into a skimming scam. 8 different bank branches in Dublin, Kildare and Meath were targeted by the use of skimming devices. Both men were picked up in Dublin and were being held at Newbridge and Kildare Garda stations before appearing before the court this morning. And a technical fault less than 2 minutes before takeoff has led NASA to postpone its latest launch. The launch of a spacecraft hoping to get the closest view of the sun in history has seen it be delayed by 24 hours. Scientists hope the Parker Solar Probe will help them learn more about the sun's behaviour and how it affects Earth. That's it for now. More in an hour.